Hey, it's Mr. Apples here with my custom card, Tswana the Enduring. Tswana is 2 green and a white to play. It's a legendary creature, elephant monk, with 3 power and 3 toughness, and trample and lifelink. It has, whenever an opponent gains life, this creature endures X, where X is the amount of life gained. So, in other words, if your opponent gains 3 life, you can either put 3 +1/+1 counters on Tswana, or create a 3/3 spirit creature token. It also has that whenever it attacks, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. When you do, target opponent gains life equal to its mana value. Alright, with that card reading out of the way, let's move on to our strategy outline. Our first strategy is we want to give our opponents life so we could put as many +1/+1 counters on our commander. At first glance, this might sound like a bad idea, as it seems like we're actively helping our opponents stay in the game. But that comes to our second strategy, which is to deal 21 combat damage with our commander. Remember, as long as you deal 21 combat damage from a single commander to a player over the course of a game, they lose, whether they have 1 life, 100 life, or 1000 life. However, there are 2 things that we should keep in mind with this strategy. First off, we need to protect our commander. If our commander is removed, that's going to set us back a lot since we are relying on them so much for our win condition. There are other decks that might not rely on their commander so much for their win condition, they can kind of like make it up with the cards in their 99, but not for us. We absolutely need to protect our commander. The second thing we have to keep in mind is to further power up our commander. We don't need to focus too much on giving it raw power and toughness, but we do need to focus on giving it more keywords so that we can protect it and allow it to attack without being blocked. We're going to look for keywords like hexproof, indestructible, reach, flying, and shroud. Alright, so now let's talk about some cards that go in the 99 that help us with our strategies and help us win the game. Okay, let's talk about life, specifically cards that give life to our opponents. We're going to see some popular mainstays here, but we're also going to see some niche cards and bargain bin jank that Tswana breathes new life into. Alright, here we have our first card, which is Wall of Shards. For 1 and a white, we get a 1/8 flyer. However, it comes with some downsides. It's got Defender, and it's got a cumulative upkeep cost, which states an opponent gains 1 life, and that upkeep cost increases with every single turn. So first upkeep, we got to give an opponent 1 life. The second upkeep, we got to give 2. But wait a minute, with Tswana, this is actually a great thing, because we have Tswana on the battlefield. Every time we give our opponents life, we're going to be putting that many +1/+1 counters on our commander. So first upkeep, we're going to put 1 counter on Tswana. Second upkeep, 2. Third upkeep, 3. Or, if we want, we can make some creature tokens instead. So it's a cost, quote unquote, that we can actually take advantage of in this deck. Next up, we have Invigorate, which is not that impressive of a spell at first glance. For 200 green, we can give a creature +4/+4 until end of turn. But if we control a forest, we can actually cast this spell for free at the low cost of giving our opponents 3 life. However, that's great with Tswana, because we have Tswana out. Once that opponent gains 3 life, we get to put 3 +1/+1 counters on our commander. Now let's talk about some really good removal options that give our opponents life. We got a ton of them. Can you guess the first card on this list? It's in every single white deck that can run it. It's Swords to Plowshares. We get to exile target creature, and then its controller gains life equal to its power. The next card we're going to put in this deck is similar. It's Condemn, which says that we can put target attacking creature on the bottom of its owner's library, and its controller gains life equal to its toughness. Continuing on with this theme, we have Solitude, which has Flash and lifelink, and it gives us a Swords to Plowshares type effect when it enters. Exile, giving our opponents life. And remember, if we cast it for its evoke cost, we don't even have to pay mana for it. And yeah, it goes to the graveyard afterwards, but that's totally fine, because the last ability our commander has is that whenever it attacks, we get to put a card from our graveyard back to our hand, which allows us to recur this over and over again throughout the course of the game. Another great card for this deck, and actually can kind of be of a game ender, is Luminate Primordial. Yes, it's 7 mana to play, but when it enters, we get to exile a creature controlled by each opponent, and then each opponent is going to gain life equal to that creature's power, which means that we get a total number of +1/+1 counters equal to the total amount of life gained this way. We're going to really make our commander really buffed and remove 3 threats on the board. Now with Solitude, with Condemn, with Swords to Plowshare, with Luminate Primordial, what's kind of cool is that the bigger threat we remove, the more +1/+1 counters we get to put on our commander. And we're also getting around things like Indestructible, because we're not actually destroying the creature, we're either exiling it or putting it back into our opponent's library. Alright, I promised you absolute bargain bin jank that would be absolute bombs in this deck. I haven't delivered it yet, but I'm delivering it right now. First is Sky Shroud Cutter, a simple 2/2 for 4 mana. And sounds really underwhelming, right? But it also has the ability that you can play this 2/2 for free if you control a forest by giving each other player 5 life. If your commander is out though, and you play this card for its alternate cost, now if you got your 3 opponents still in the game, you're putting 15 +1/+1 counters on your commander for 0 mana. Crazy, right? In addition to this, we have Centaur Peacemaker, which when it enters, it gives each player 4 life. So you get to get some life too with this Centaur Peacemaker coming out. But if your commander is out, if you have 3 opponents, that's 4, 8, 12 life that they're gaining, which means you get to put 12 +1/+1 counters on your commander. Now let's talk about how we protect our commander and how we suit it up with some great keywords. First off, let's start with Whispersilk Cloak. This is a 3 mana artifact equipment, which costs 2 to equip, which makes our commander unblockable and gives our commander Shroud. We also have Lightning Greaves, which costs 2 to play and 0 to equip, and gives Haste and Shroud to our commander. I should mention that you should always be cautious of when you give your commander Shroud, because it does protect you from being targeted, but it also prevents you from targeting with things like more equipment and more auras. Just be mindful of that. Now, we don't have that problem with the next card on our list, which is Swiftfoot Boots, which gives Hexproof and Haste. Let's talk about some other ways to protect our commander. Let's talk about Dog Umbra for a second. It's a cool card that comes from Modern Horizons 3 and is extremely versatile. First off, it has Flash, which means we can play it anytime we could an instant, and we can cast it in response to our opponent trying to blow up something that we have. If we cast it on one of our creatures, it gives that creature Umbra Armor, which means the next time it would be destroyed, it just isn't destroyed, and Dog Umbra is destroyed in its place. However, we can also play it on one of our opponent's creatures and make it so that creature cannot attack or block. Next card we're going to talk about is Shield of the Oversoul from Shadowmoor. So we went from talking about a really new card to a really old card here. But old does not mean bad, because it has, as long as enchanted creature is green, it gets +1/+1 and is indestructible, and it has, as long as enchanted creature is white, it gets +1/+1 and has flying. And because our commander is both green and white, that means that our commander is going to get +2/+2 flying and indestructible. So pretty good card in this deck. Last card we're going to talk about here on this slide is Selfless Spirit, which is for 1 and a white, a 2/1 flyer, but it has Sacrifice Selfless Spirit, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Now, what's kind of interesting is that there is no tap symbol in this ability, which means we can activate the ability at instant speed. Very good interaction to have. To further protect our commander and our board in general, we're also going to be running Heroic Intervention, Dawn's Truce, and Veil of Summer. I just want to mention, I'll include a second Moxfield link in the description because there's a build of this deck where we focus more on enchantments to protect our commander. We can do this really well with more cards with Umbra armor, such as Snake Umbra, Bear Umbra, and Hyena Umbra. The cool thing about this version of the deck is we'll be really good on card advantage, because we can run some sweet green and white cards that synergize with enchantments, such as Setessan Champion, Eidolon of Blossoms, and Sithist Harvest Hand. We can also keep the enchantment theme going in our ramp cards with Fertile Ground, Utopia Sprawl, and New Horizons. If we run ramp this way, we can also profit from our card advantage. Hey, thank you for taking the time and watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you look into the description, you're going to see some awesome links that I have for you. You have the 2 Moxfield deck lists that you can use, the regular one and the more enchantment focused one. We also have the Google Doc link to Tswana, so you can print it out and play test it on your own. We also have links to a bunch of the websites for the artists that we used for the background in this video. I wish you a great day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I also have polls on my YouTube channel, which I'm going to be asking you guys a bunch of questions to see like how to improve my videos. Well, with that, thanks again for your time. This is Mr. Apples, signing off.